Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again, my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man, on this Ombligo de la Semana Wednesday?
Hey, what's up, dude? I'm still happy and excited from yesterday. El glorioso Borussia von Dortmund making it to the UCL final. We're all cheering for the underdog. I've been a BVV fan since the times of Lucas Barrios, so I'm proud for them. And I'm also primed because right now it's Liga MX Liguilla, so we're about to see some showdown in Mexico with Chivas Toluca and I think America Pachuca tonight.
Yeah, currently halftime 0-0 Toluca Chivas. This is interesting Liga MX just because the 8 that qualified are like the top of the cream of the crop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just not Pachuca, Santos that didn't make it, that has maybe more títulos than Monterrey, and one other club I think that has like more títulos than Monterrey. But other than that, it's the teams with the most títulos.
It's so they call it in Mexico. It's the Liguilla of los más campeones ... and Monterrey.
De Monterrey. There you go. Yeah. It's going to be interesting Liguilla for sure. Tomorrow, Tigres play Monterrey, and it's going to be a good doubleheader, Clásico Regio there. We've been seeing a lot of these Clásico Regios in Liguilla recently in the last couple of years. It's just become a norm. But that's not what we're here. Today, we're going to be discussing, staying in the topic of Mexico, but in Europe, Mexicanos in Europe. Like we did with the USMNT a couple of videos ago, this is going to be our discussion and analysis of the top 5 Mexican players in Europe this season as the European season, starts to wrap up and come to close. A lot of leagues already kind of crowning their champion. And, there's 3 or 4 games left in each respective league. So we thought we'd go ahead and kind of analyze this because moving forward, our mindset here in PPG is going to be shifting towards Copaamerica this summer. So stick it here with PPG as that gets closer. We're excited to cover that for sure. So Adrian, man, let's start off with number 5. Number 5, someone who has kind of fallen off favor for Mexico in the last couple of years, someone that a lot of fans say, has been living off his goal against Germany in 2018. Chukylozano played PSV, made 22 league appearances for PSV this season, scored 6 goals and 3 assists so far. The season's not over. And he made 7 Champions League appearances, making 0 goals and 0 assists. He won the Eredivisie with PSV, man. A big title there as he kind of wraps up, I think, a lot of people are thinking his European career and is forced to go, or not forced, but is choosing to go to Santiago FC in the MLS. Number 5 on the list, do you think appropriate?
I mean, it's if we were talking about the USMNT and Chukylozano was a USMNT eligible player, I would say maybe not reasonable to have him in the top 5. But since this is Mexico, and we understand that there aren't that many Mexican players in Europe right now, I think number 5 it's where he belongs. In comparison to maybe other players like Orbelín Pineda, Rodolfo Pizarro, Jorge Sanchez, Cesar Montes, etc. Right? So, yeah, I think if we have to choose a top 5, he will definitely fall in this position. I agree. I agree with you. And it's just sad, dude, to see what we thought was going to be the leader of the next generation in Mexico. The player who we thought could, the team could rely on and essentially carry us over the next generational bump. But over the last 5 years, even give or take, he has turned into a very sour, not fan favorite kind of player. I mean, we've seen him having like these diva attitudes and essentially pretty much saying that everyone is wrong but him. Kind of a shame to see how his career now in Europe is coming to an end. We praised him when we saw that he went from Napoli to PSV in favor of remaining at a competitive, league or competitive football in Europe. But I think, between the last year and today, things may have changed. I'm pretty sure he's getting a substantial raise in San Diego FC. And Devin, man, I mean, I think it will be hard for anyone to say no to all those pollos verdes that he's going to get in San Diego FC. So, yeah, he started off hot, kind of cooled down, and I think no one expected that to happen. I don't even think PSV expected that to be his performance at the end of this year, but I think he's just one of those guys that just giving up.
Yeah, no, he definitely. I remember the first couple months there at PSV, he was getting a lot of praise, saying he made the right move because he started off, with 5 goals and 2 assists between match days 4 and 12. And after match day 12, he hasn't really done much. He's only played 40. The most he's played in the last 4 appearances has been 45 minutes. There was another 30-minute appearance, 19-minute appearance, etc. Right, but from the last 4 appearances, the most he's played in those matches is 45 minutes at a time. So his numbers, as the season progresses and as the season comes to an end, have been dwindling. I guess PSV knows he's leaving. He knows he's leaving. They're champions, so maybe they're even not playing him less now as well. So yeah, I mean, started off hot. That kind of carried him through the new year. Decent amount of appearances in Eredivisie, decent amount of appearances in Champions League, and that factored with the fact that Mexico, like you said, doesn't have a lot to pick from currently in Europe, has led him to number 5 on our list. Let me ask you, one of our honorable mentions we were going to mention later on in this video was Luis Chavez at Dynamo Moscow. I had Chukylozano above him just slightly, just because of the league he plays at and the team he plays at. But I mean, Luis Chavez has also been doing really well in the Russian Premier League. There, 20 appearances, 4 goals, 1 assist, and I mean, if you look at his stats, man, he plays 90 minutes weekly, more or less, right? He's kind of the go-to guy in the midfield for Dynamo Moscow. There, do you think there's a case to be had that maybe Luis Chavez could be number 5?
Yeah, I think it could have gone either way. Maybe we are giving El Chukylozano the benefit just because he won La Eredivisie. I'm not too sure if Luis Chavez, I think he's contending for the championship, but I'm not too sure how close Dinamo is to actually winning the league. And on top of that, it's like, I have the feeling that Eredivisie is a tad bit better than the Russian league. But yet again, we don't really have a lot of visibility on that league.
Yeah, that league is very difficult to watch. They're currently third with 50 points. Zenit St. Petersburg is first with 51 points. So between the top 3 top 3 teams, it is definitely a competition for the title there in Russia. But moving on, number 4. This win might have some controversy just because he's number 4 and not higher in the list. But we have Santiago Gimenez, Feyenoord. He's made 30 league appearances for Feyenoord so far this season, scoring 23 goals with 6 assists. 4 Champions League appearances, 2 goals and 1 assist, and 2 Europa League appearances, scoring 1 goal. Like Chucky, man, he started very hot, right? He's somewhat cooled down during the middle of the season, and he's kind of picked it back up here the last 2 games. But between match day 2 and 17, 19 of his 23 goals were scored, and ever since then, since match day 18, he's only scored 4 goals and 2 assists. So definitely a downward trend there for Santi Gimenez. Started off very good. Ended 2023 very good, and then started off very rough 2024. What do you think of Santi being number 4?
I was ready to argue on this one with you, but as I kept on looking at his numbers, and I had to do an exercise to go back to last year and see how he ended. And he ended last year with 28 goals in total I'm going to exclude the 5 goals from Liga MX, right? So throughout all competitions with Feyenoord, he ended up with 23 goals, right? Overall, he scored 28 goals throughout the year. Those 28 goals, 5 came from Cruz Azul. So he only scored 20. I say only as if it was very, very little, right? But he scored 23 goals with Feyenoord throughout all competitions, right? So to me, he ended 2022-2023 season with very high expectations, right? And we all thought he was going to break that specific record, which he did, right? Right now he's sitting at 26 goals throughout all competitions, right? But as I said, I was ready to fight you, but then I kept on looking at the numbers and I'm like, he did better. He just didn't do as good as we all thought he was gonna do this season. Super hot in the very beginning, first half of the season, significantly cooled down. I think this is one of the players that coming to La Selección Mexicana actually harmed him rather than helped him to get him in better form, better shape, better fit, performance. So yeah, I think the 4th spot right now, it's reasonable for Santiago Gimenez, especially if you compare him to the top 3 that we're going to discuss in a minute. My own perspective was he was gonna. I don't know if he's right now leading the top scoring in Eredivisie, but to me, if I was Arne Slot or Feyenoord, I would expect at least a 28, 30 goals throughout all competitions, maybe like 25 goals, 26 goals, and winning the top scoring title in the league, which he might be close. Or I'm not too sure if he's actually winning it right now, but I just don't feel that he actually improved that much from what we saw last season. And I just have the feeling that he ended up not disappointing, but not necessarily breaking the ceiling that we all thought he had, or he has still.
And that's nothing negative. I mean, he scored a crap ton of goals last season, and he's still scoring a crap ton of goals this season, right? I mean, scoring more than 20 goals in Europe is no easy feat. So, you know, he like you brought up, is he winning the league title or the goal scoring title there? He's not. He's 5 goals behind Pavlidis and Azad Alkmaar, and 27 goals. Luc de Jong versus Santi's 23 for second place there. So he's third. And but I think the disappointment, not really didn't have a disappointing season, right? He just had that cool down for a couple months. But I think a lot of people, you know, when he started for the first 17 match days and had like 19 goals in the league, people were expecting and thinking, oh, this is going to be a 30-goal league season for Santiago Gimenez, 30 to 35 goals. And like I said, 23 goals at this point of the season is nothing to be, you know, complaining about, but he just didn't live up to that early season promise of 30 goals, and that cool down really hindered him from being higher on the list. You know, I think he still moves this summer. I think he finds a bigger club, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with him after Copa America, to see where he lands, because I think he can definitely pop off in a big club, in a big league. So Santiago Gimenez, number 4 on our list.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, number 3, we're going to Spain, Las Palmas, Julian Araujo, someone who belongs to Barcelona, made a loan move to Las Palmas, has made 23 league appearances for them and 3 Copa del Rey appearances, scored once in each competition. Obviously, he's not going to have a high goal-scoring numbers. He's a defender. But he did miss 4 games due to a hamstring injury he's just now coming back from. He also missed 4 games earlier in the season due to just a suspension, and then another additional one back in match day 9. So he's missed like 9 or 10 games all season, and he still has made 23 appearances for Las Palmas in La Liga. From the matches he did play, though, man, I mean, I think you agree that he got a lot of game time. He looked to be one of Las Palmas' best players, and he was very, very consistent this season, and a loan move that was very positive for him.
Yeah, and you know, I was, as I said, on Santiago Gimenez's point, I was going to fight you because I, in my opinion, Santiago Gimenez should have been higher on the list at my first glance through the very detailed agenda you put together. But when I started to think about this, Julian Araujo is one of those players that at least I didn't have any big expectations for him this season. I wasn't expecting him to be this great of a performer with Las Palmas, to have this solid display, you know, pretty much week in and week out with Las Palmas, to become a consistent player, a go-to, a starting 11 player, and just look very, very solid and see that consistent growth from going from LA Galaxy to Las Palmas. You can see a huge difference in his game. He seems just way more capable of understanding the match. He looks as a more solid defender. If you compare him to, you know, the likes of Jorge Sanchez and Kevin Alvarez, who are probably his competition in La Selección Mexicana, I think he's the most balanced out of all of them, and I think it came from his time here at Las Palmas. He's done so well that there's even talks about Barcelona calling him back as a potential, maybe not a all games starting player, but a regular feature player for the regular season amongst other European competitions they're going to be part of. So yeah, when I thought about this, I was like, all right, yeah, for sure. I look at the numbers. I see all the freaking reviews from him. I read all of the good, critics that he gets, that he's gotten so far throughout this season. So yeah, he totally deserves to be in the top 3 spot of our review of this year.
Yeah, no, he's definitely gonna have a chance to prove himself this summer at Barcelona when he goes back, and hopefully he does stay there and was able to make some appearances. But maybe it's not even too bad if he makes another loan move out to another team, one more season, and continues to grow in La Liga. But this has been a very, very good positive loan move for him. Going into Barcelona straight away and not playing, just seeing the bench was going to always be hard. So definitely got a lot of La Liga experience, game time, and I think he's ready to return to Barcelona to fight for a spot. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't get a lot of time for La Selección Mexicana at this time, at least.
Yeah, and that's on Jimmy. It's not on him. That's on Jimmylozano just being hard-headed.
Right. Somebody else, number 2, who does get a lot of time for La Selección Mexicana, someone that plays in Italy for Genoa, Johan Vasquez, a rock in the back for Genoa, someone who plays consistently. I think he's only missed match day 28 due to yellow card suspension, but he's pretty much played all 90 minutes for most of the games that he's played, 34 league appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. How good has he been for Genoa this season, man? He's been one of the most consistent center backs in the Serie A for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think, in my opinion, he is the number 1 in my list, but not on PPG's list. I think he deserves the number 1 spot. I am okay with number 2 for the overall PPG list. But in my opinion, man, he is the Mexican player in Europe with the highest, I guess, the most growth in general from last season to today. It was great for him to be in the relegation battle at Cremonese, and the season before that also fighting relegation. I think he grew from those experiences. It's great to see him that he's a way stronger defender. The quality that he brings to La Selección Mexicana is undeniable. We all expected this specific growth and path for someone like Cesar Montes, but Johan Vasquez is just a workhorse, man. He is the go-to example for all Mexican players that think they are above, the small teams of Europe, or there's not worth their time, not worth their effort to put in, to sacrifice some luxury to find a spot and become a better player. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a sudden move to a bigger team in Italy, because I have the feeling that he might be coveted amongst other teams now that he's been there for a while. He understands the league, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he stays at Genoa as a regular feature player and help him get into a European spot, whether if it's Conference League or Europa League. I think he is in the correct path of continued growth, and I think we shall see him playing at a higher level sometime soon, man.
Yeah, and even if he does end up staying there, that's the type of club we like seeing Mexicans go to, right? A middle table club. When he arrived, it was a middle table. He has helped make it grow for sure. He's been part of that, mid table transition from lower table to mid table now in Genoa. Like you said, you brought it up that they could be playing Conference League if they do well next season, or Europa League. So definitely a good place for him, middle of the table team. And like I said, I think I agree with you that I wouldn't be surprised either if he just gets picked up randomly this summer by bigger, like a Milan or somebody, right? Somebody that size, Napoli or something. But yeah, Johan Vasquez, Adrian's number 1, but on our list is number 2 here. And our list concludes with number 1, back in the Premier League for West Ham, Edson Alvarez. So far, he's made 30 Premier League appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist, and 7 Europa League appearances, also 1 goal and 1 assist. And like Johan Vasquez, he's pretty much played every game except 3 games here and there throughout the season that he had served out due to a yellow card suspension. How would you rate his first season here at West Ham, man? I mean, he's become a fan favorite, and he's been an integral part of this West Ham team as they kind of fell down towards the end, but they were competing for a while for a Conference League spot. But how would you rate his first season there?
I think his first season, I will rate it as if I have to choose a number, I'm going to put it at 7. If I have to give you a word, I'm going to say decent. I think Mexican fans had a way more outrageous expectation of how successful he was going to be at West Ham, especially if you are a Mexican fan who doesn't follow the Premier League. You weren't under the impression that West Ham is a not necessarily successful team, right? So he wasn't like going to a team that was fighting for the Premier League championship, or at least making some noise in any European competition. Even though West Ham actually made it to the final last year in Conference League, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he's been decent, and I think his performance has matched what was expected of him. I think that the fact that he's becoming a fan favorite and an integral part of West Ham, it was just bound to happen. We all know that he has great talent, and I was a little worried that Premier League could have been too physical for him. But even though he's super flaco and he looks kind of wimpy, he's actually quite exactly. He's actually quite sturdy, and I think the league fits him pretty well, man. I mean, he had almost no issues adapting to the league. He has been at a stellar fitness levels with West Ham. It is a shame that they couldn't make a bigger a bigger run or a longer run in more of the European competitions. But hey, I think I'm going to agree with you in this one. He is a number one because ultimately he is the best Mexican player in Europe. Period.
And the current face of Mexico for sure.
Mm-hmm.
A couple stats for him. You mentioned how you didn't think he would adapt as quickly as he did, just due to the physicality of the league. But so far this season, he leads West Ham in terms of interceptions with 42 interceptions. Highest out of the whole West Ham team. In terms of blocks, he has 59 blocks, and he has the lead of 47 tackles inside the defensive third. So he is very integral in the defense, right? In that midfield and back for West Ham. Leading in a lot of these important categories. This is a club that's kind of a great fit for him, I think, currently in his career. I think he still has that chance to move to a bigger club. Remember, there was that rumor that he was close to signing for Chelsea for a while, but ultimately ended up at West Ham. But he'll look to grow on this success in his first season and maybe lead West Ham to Europa place or Conference League next season, and maybe after that find a bigger club because he's still young. I think he's 26, so Edson Alvarez, number one on our list here for Mexicanos in Europe. A couple quick honorable mentions. We mentioned already Luis Chavez, Dynamo Moscow. We talked about him, and also have on the list here Aurelien Pineda, someone who this season for AEK Athens has made 23 appearances, 2 goals, 2 assists. Also made 5 appearances in the Europa League, 4 in the Champions League qualifiers, which they ultimately did not qualify for. But someone just like Johan Vasquez and Edson Alvarez, who obviously the league is a lot lower in quality, but he really has just missed a couple matches here and there. But other than that, he plays the full 90 or 80 or 90 minutes between that. Hardly ever goes less than that, and it's one of the key figures for AEK Athens, who he's been there for a while now. Do you think he'll eventually find a move to a bigger club?
I hope so, man. But I seriously doubt it. He's 27 years old, 20 some. Like he's on the later part of his 20s. Unfortunately for him, he plays at a league where salaries are high. So I find it difficult for him to maybe find a spot on a smaller team in Spain, even though he didn't do too hot in La Liga, right? So I think for him now, it will be either move to a bigger team or a slightly bigger team in Greece, or to Olympiacos or Panathinaikos, something that plays maybe Champions League or Europa League with more frequency, or maybe he can make a jump to a Sporting Lisboa, to a big club
or something.
Yeah, maybe Turkey fits him well. Maybe the most established and formal leagues like La Liga and Premier League doesn't fit his style, and he can probably go to one of those exotic leagues in Europe, where Turkey might be a good outlet for him. But I think he's just too comfortable out there in Greece with El Pelado Almeida. Yeah. He knows him. Pelado Almeida knows how to use him pretty well. So I would doubt if he goes to a different club. Man, I think he's closer to just come back to Mexico or playing MLS than actually finding another spot over there.
It would be disappointing. He is 28, and he might have one more big move ahead of him. We'll see. But that was PPG's top 5 Mexicans in Europe this season. Definitely let us know in the comments below what you think of this list. Do you agree with the order? Do you think we missed anybody in the top 5 here? We like interacting with you guys, so let us know in the comments down below. Adrian, man, as we wrap up this episode, dude, where can listeners find us?
Man, they can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Instagram, and make sure to check out Liga MX. Liguilla has started. It's going to be an exciting Liguilla this season. Like Adrian said, it's the teams with the most titles and Monterrey. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure, and I will be watching. So Adrian, man, another good one. I'll see you in the next one, brother.
Always a pleasure, my guy. Take it easy.
Likewise. See you, man.
Bye.